Do you want to play as a denizen of the underworld city of 𝘎𝙬 in a brand new setting for 5th edition? Do you want to experience a level 5 adventure exploring labyrinthine passages and dusty chambers beneath the mysterious Lake of Dust? How about a first level adventure recovering an artifact that protects the citizens of Nuremberg from the Fae that are now in their midst because the relic has been stolen? Well, if you liked the ideas behind any of those questions, we've got books that will satisfy all of those needs in our latest episode of D&D New Releases. So let's get started. Hi, it's Splinterverse. Welcome to another episode of D&D New Releases, where we offer first impressions of new third-party products for Dungeons & Dragons. We cover a selection of titles from Dungeon Masters Guild and DriveThruRPG each week. The titles are presented in alphabetical order, and all of them are linked in the video description. Purchasing the books using those links helps the channel, but you can also support us by purchasing one of our best-selling books. Our newest release, Dragonlance Companion, offers 180 pages for players and DMs to bring the magical world of Krynn to life. And like many of our books, it's available in hardcover and digital format. Our Swarms of the Multiverse offers over 70 brand new creatures, including their associated swarms, instructions on how to make your own balanced swarms, and lots of bonus materials such as 4 new demiplanes. Our Feywild Companion offers 150 pages of Feywild fun for players and DMs alike. Also, our book, Fizban's Vault of Draconic Secrets, contains over 50 pages of dragon-themed player options, including a subclass for each class and much more. We've got lineages suitable for any setting, as well as optional lineage rules in our Van Richten's Librum of Lineages. With our Potions Unlocked book, we have over 100 pages of material to take potions to the next level in your game. Please support the channel by purchasing our books using the links in the video description. First up in this episode, we have Dreadful Realms, Caverns of the Wise Minister. It's a dark fantasy role-playing setting for 5th edition from Stasis Games. It's $19.99 for 125 pages. And it says Caverns of the Wise Minister is a dark fantasy setting. Halfway between the realms of life and death, a new civilization of lost souls has sprung up under the thrall of a creature older than gods that calls itself the Wise Minister. In Caverns, you play as denizens of the city of 𝘎𝙬, descendants of those plucked from their homes on the surface, trying to forge a new life in the darkness of the underworld. If you're clever, quick, and fortunate, and you live long enough to find your niche, you might learn how you got here. Maybe you'll even set things right. So, you're going to get this complete underworld setting, including a detailed guide to the city of 𝘎𝙬, plus rules and player options for the underworld characters, as well as a 30-page bestiary. So, tons of stuff here, brand new setting, and looking inside you can see it's going to cover just the underworld itself, then the outer locations, and then you get into that city, and then you go into the player options and rules as well as that bestiary. So really cool. And I love this artwork. I'm going to zoom out just so you can see. I mean, this is sort of that underworld city of 𝘎𝙬. Really cool entrance artwork. I love that. But if you scroll through, you can see it's going to talk about the mood, the themes, adventuring there, what life is like there, how to use the book. Here's some more beautiful artwork talking about the world below, between life and death. So we'll maybe read a little bit about that in the world above. So you can adventure above 𝘎𝙬 and see what else is happening up there. But it says life in 𝘎𝙬 is notably distinct from life on the surface in many ways. Some aspects are shaped by the nature of the environment, others by the Nyx and Elven cultures that are dominant in the area. 𝘎𝙬 runs on barter. Its peoples have no physical currency. They record small debts on tablets made of clay from the Taurian lake and inscribe larger sums in stone. Elvish and Aquan are the most commonly spoken languages in 𝘎𝙬 that are different from the surface variants, but are nevertheless comprehensible to surface dwellers. Magic items called tongue stones or rich stones are common. allowing non-locals to speak and understand one or both of the most common tongues. Most people in Sepulchre speak at least a few phrases of Goblin, but rarely enough to hold an in-depth conversation. It goes into their calendar, their technology, death, all of that stuff, so you can read that on your own. It talks about the people. One of them is the Nyx, which is an aquatic race. They're the only indigenous residents of Sepulchre. They make their homes in the lake itself and in the network of subterranean rivers it's connected to, traveling into the city to trade or for festivals. Tensions between the Nyx and the elves have run high for centuries, each group being defensive about their status as the wise minister's most valued servants. But this tension doesn't stop individual elves and Nyx from building business or personal relationships. And then you've got something called the 𝙁𝙘𝙀. These intelligent mini-eyed amorphous oozes are a recent arrival in Sepulchre. Those who have interacted with them declare they come from another plane of existence. They are possessed of deep oceans of arcane knowledge and power, and often attach themselves to powerful mages as mentors and research partners. Don't call them familiars, however. So that would be fun to interact with those, dealing with these sort of ooze-like creatures. They're connected to mages, but they don't want to be known as their familiars, so you could really lean into that or away from that and cause conflict with your storytelling. This setting is really cool. It's different from your traditional Underdark, because you've got this story about how basically this population was tricked and their god got captured, and then they got trapped beneath the surface, and they built a whole civilization there, and they're still connected to this trickster, and so they're having to deal with that. And this was a Kickstarter, had a bunch of backers, and so they've got everything in here. And there's even another Dreadful Realms book that you can get if you're interested in that as part of a bundle for $30. But this looks really fun. I love the artwork, love the concept behind it. I mean, look at this cover, so cool. So look for it in the video description links. It's under Dreadful Realms, Caverns of the Wise Minister, and the links below. Give it a click. Next we have The Goddess and the Fox from Dragon's Horn Tales. And it's an adventure for Tier 2, levels 4 to 7. But the best part is it's for a bunch of rule systems. You're going to get 5th edition, 3.5 edition, and Pathfinder, all for one price. And that price is $19.95 for 110 pages. That's a pretty good price for that size of a book. And it says, uncover the story of the Fox Emperor. The Temple of 𝙭𝙤𝙀, the goddess of the woods of the fair broad peninsula, has been uncovered, and the evil that was imprisoned inside has started spreading its influence, corrupting and destroying the ancient forest surrounding the temple in its search for the power it lost centuries ago. Searching far and wide, it sent its corrupted beast to collect the gems of power, to regain its strength, to break out of its prison completely and rain war down on the world once again. Old heroes who once vanquished the evil threatening the woods of 𝙭𝙀𝙀 have returned after hundreds of years, digging up the history of the goddess and looking for answers and salvation. Little did they know that they would find nothing of the sort. The players have played their pieces, each waiting for the right moment to move. Everyone is after the power and will do anything to seize it. The Fox Emperor is on the hunt, and you are his prey. But is it his game, or is he too a pawn in a greater scheme? So, many-layered adventure here. It's got fantastic story with exploration and branching paths where the hero's choices matter. I love that, because replayability is great when that happens. It says the great 𝙭𝙀𝙀 forest is to be explored by heroes full of ancient secrets and forgotten magic. 28 beautiful maps, 10 new monsters, 10 fully illustrated magic items, and 4 new beautiful instrumental pieces composed just for the adventure. So you're going to get some music to play as well. And you can see it's beautifully laid out from these images here. There's also a bundle where you can get it for Foundry VTT, which is one of the best VTT systems. I love what Dragon's Horn Studio does. They're giving you value every which direction, whether it's the VTT, the music, the maps, the different editions of this game. I mean, Pathfinder 2nd edition, 3.5 edition, 5th edition, all in one book. Normally, you'd have to pay $20 for each of those. Run you $60 instead of just the $20 here. So you can see you got these chapters of the adventure all the way up to chapter 13, epilogue, appendix, with scaling the adventure, and then, you know, for 5th edition, and then there's also the same information for Pathfinder 2nd edition. So they're really investing that time for you. And again, this has branching paths, which is really cool. And it says, as this dungeon crawl is using the system agnostic framework and is designed to be run in multiple systems, skill checks, damage rolls, and saving throws are described in a generic format. Such as easy perception. In the system-specific appendix, you will find a table that maps those to what you would use. So it's really cool. You can just look it up. Once you memorize that easy perception equals this in 5th edition, then you're good to go. Or you can even print out that page, you know, the appendix information, and then you're ready to reference it at any time. And, you know, there's converted stat blocks and everything for you for the different systems. But this looks so fun. I love the structure. It says how the adventure progresses is driven by the actions of the heroes. Any of the events that happen between the first encounter and the final part of the temple's exploration can occur in any order. How cool is that? Really gives you flexibility. If you're a pro DM and you want to run this, you can run it 5 different ways, and more than that probably, and it'll never get old, because it's always going to be different. And, you know, players always make it different too, the characters, their backstories. But then you start being able to play things in different orders, and it's going to be so cool. And you can see here is a flow chart. You know, after chapter 3, these are the different things they can do. And then you see down here where chapter 10, it kind of splits up. So fun stuff. And then even scaling the adventure for character levels. I appreciate that. Not often do adventures give you information on how to scale it. You're kind of locked into their adventures. This is the tier 2, just naturally written that way, but they're giving you options to scale it for other levels, because it can be run between levels and 9 and 11 as well if you wanted to. And then you got Fate of the Woods here. It says the magic of the ancient woods of Ixalan was always powerful, but unexpectedly that magic started to fade. This chapter outlines the history of the ancient woods, the goddess that protected it, and the Fox Emperor. So you're going to find out everything. They even have a little timeline. I love timelines. I love looking at those and kind of imagining how far apart each of those things are. And you get a whole section on Ixalan, who is this goddess. Once powerful protector of the woods, Ixalan has not been seen for the last 450 years, the time at which she was stripped of her power. The goddess in the form most knew her in did not disappear, however. Instead, with what little power she had left, she disguised herself as a witch named Leal and began traveling from settlement to settlement, helping the people of the peninsula with whatever they might need. That's cool. So you might even get to meet a god in disguise going through this. And then there's so many characters. This looks like the Fox Emperor in his humanoid form here. And then you've got Lord Umbulk, Lady Oriana. I mean, so many beautifully illustrated characters. And we're just looking at 12 pages. This thing is 110, set up for 3 versions of the game with music, monsters, items, and player choices matter. So I say, as usual, Dragon's Horn stuff is worth purchasing because you're getting double, triple, quadruple the value because they're working so hard to give you all those variations. So look for it in the video description links. It's under Goddess and the Fox. Give it a click. Next we have Lake of Dust from Frog God Games for 5th edition. $13.99 for the PDF, or you can get that soft cover for $26.99 or both for $29.65. And it's by author Steve Winter, 32 pages. And this looks to be a really fun adventure. It says, deep in the trackless wastes of an arid desert lies the dusty bed of an ancient dried up lake. It's home to a clan of feisty gnolls who don't exactly lay out the welcome mat for outsiders. But the adventurers are on a mission. The dead lake also hides the ruins of strange, forgotten temples, places that even the ferocious gnolls fear to tread. Who built these labyrinthine passages and dusty chambers, and what secrets do they hide? Once the adventurers have won the gnolls' respect, or at least their tolerance, the ruins lie open for exploration. Inside are the answers to the mysteries of the temple's origins and the fate of their builders. But even armed with this knowledge, can the heroes survive the challenges that lie beneath? the Lake of Dust. I love that name. So thinking about, a desert, it could just be, that dusty place, right? But it is a lake of dust. And that just immediately brings a visual like, oh, is it like a crater where there was a lake once before and now it's just dirt? Or is it sort of shifting sands that are moving kind of like ripples on a lake? I don't know. We haven't even cracked it open and looked at it yet, but just the name is evocative. And we love that. That shows creativity. So here you can see you're going to get some hooks. First contact, the Gnoll camp, kind of all the locations, and then you start diving into this delve with the East Temple, the West Temple, the South Temple, the Purple Worm, wrapping it up, and then a whole section on ancestor skulls, 𝘽𝙤𝙤𝙠𝙨, desiccants, magical and mundane items, and even some NPCs. So a nice, well-rounded book with some fun, bonus stuff in it. It looks like, you can reuse these 𝘽𝙤𝙤𝙠𝙨s, elsewhere. You don't get a ton of stat blocks for some of these creatures in the monster manual, right? You get like one, maybe if you're lucky, you get a second one. But when these books come out like this that have all these extra stat blocks, that alone makes you say, hey, $13.99 is worth it. So it says the continental shelf and lightless abysses of the deep ocean are the 𝘽𝙤𝙤's natural habitat. They swim up rivers only when they're raiding inland settlements for treasure and prisoners. Very rarely, for reasons known only to their priestesses, 𝘽𝙤𝙤 sometimes establish small religious colonies in remote freshwater lakes. The likeliest reason is that the area has, in the 𝘽𝙤𝙤's mind anyway, some obscure significance to their bloodthirsty shark-like deity. This wasteland wasn't always a desert. Centuries ago, it had rivers, lakes fringed with date palms and seasonal greenery. The rain petered out, and the lakes and rivers dried up. Now only a few meager, widely spaced oases remain. So there you go. We were wondering, why was this a lake of dust instead of just a pile of dust or a mound of dust or whatever, right? Now you get a little bit of background, and still you're going to be able to flesh it out, and your characters are going to be able to flesh it out because they're going to have connections to this adventure, surely. It talks about the 𝘽𝙤𝙤 language. The language of the 𝘽𝙤𝙤 is impossible for land-dwelling creatures to speak intelligibly without using magic. This isn't because of its complexity. It's relatively simple as languages go. But 𝘽𝙤𝙤 speech consists of vibrations in water instead of air. That's really cool. I like that. Just imagine trying to replicate that on land. You try to fill your mouth full of water, and then it's going to be rough. So it makes sense, and you don't get those explanations always, right? So it's nice that they're giving you that detail and they're going into it. So let's look at one of the hooks here. It says any of the following hooks can be used to draw characters in a lake of dust. So characters are with a caravan crossing the desert, either as guards or as paying travelers, and the caravan is attacked by Gnoll bandits. The attack is driven off without much loss, but some important travelers are captured and carried out. Few fates are worse than falling into the hands of Gnolls, so friends of the missing people offer 3,000 GP for their rescue. And this is one of these friends is a sage who provides the Howling Skull. This rescue mission leads characters to the Gnoll's camp and the temple caves. So fleshed out, nice hook, and that's just one of 3. I'm going to let you read the other ones on your own, but that's cool. So here's the Wasteland trek. Either before characters set out or during the early stage of their trek, make sure they acquire the Howling Skull, which is in the appendix. The former lake is 60 miles from the nearest settlement at the edge of the wasteland. Characters can reach it after 2 or 3 days of travel. And here's some of the encounters they could have. They could meet a Hydra, an air elemental, basilisk, goblins, of course, some Gnolls, because we know they're about causing trouble. You got hyenas, salamanders, fun stuff out there in these wastes to come into contact with. But at some point during their journey, whether or not the dice indicate a random encounter, you should impose encounter number 15. If characters are already a bit beaten up or low on resources from a tough encounter early in the day, so much the better. These Gnolls can't be surprised or ambushed, but the characters can be according to the standard procedures. The Gnolls spot the characters quickly and pursue if the characters try to evade. So you're having first contact with this band of Gnolls that you gotta either get to tolerate you or respect you. And so we'll read a little bit of the flavor text here. It says, several of the gnolls converse quietly for a few moments. Then the biggest, nastiest looking one of them steps forward, weapons in hands, and says, you may go. Do what you came to do. Kill our rivals if you can, but then leave. The wasteland is ours. If we meet again, hyenas will feast on your corpses. So you can have fun playing these gnolls and talk about what they care about. It sounds like they have some enemies they want you to deal with as well, so that might be a way to ingratiate yourself with them. But you see, you got some good maps here. It shows you where the West Temple is and the East Temple and the South Temple. So each part of this lake is connected to some underground thing to explore. And we're just scratching the surface like these adventurers are in the parts that we've read so far. There's so much you can see in this here, and it's from the great folks at Frog God Games. They produce all this great stuff, and Steve Winter, has done all these books like The Scarlet Citadel, Complete Psionics Handbook. So this is not a joke. This is a quality adventure. I love the concept. I love the little Knoll dialogue that we read. I love the notion of this Lake of Dust. It's just such a cool, striking name. Like when I saw it, I was like, what is this? It just draws you in. And so, if even just from the title you're intrigued, you're probably in for a good time. So look for Lake of Dust in the video description links and give it a click. Next, we have The Long Road, an RPG toolbox with battle mats and accompanying encounters, monsters, and adventures for 5th edition from Loke Battle Mats, and it's $19.99. And I love that cover. It is so cool. The artwork here. This artist is really talented. I love looking at this, and I think it's really cool. And the authors are Tamsin Henderson and Matt Henderson. And it says, this digital toolbox contains everything you need to travel the long road, designed to be used either as a standalone adventure or a toolbox of monsters, NPCs, encounters, maps, and more that can easily be inserted into your own campaigns. It contains a 5th edition ready-to-roll adventure and the maps to play it on. It features dozens of unique monsters and NPCs who can be encountered in a well-traveled vintage. The modular writing allows the content to be easily inserted into your campaign. Each map or area, a small group of maps combined, has its own encounters written just for it. So you can take out any area, an individual map, encounter, or monster to use as you see fit. And it's really that easy. So this is like the definition of plug and play, because you can pluck something out, plug it in, play it, move on. You don't have to use it all. You can. And I think when we start looking inside, you're going to see how cool it will be. But look at these maps. They're so cool. They're along a road here, so you can see how you can add them together to continue flowing through these passages, basically like almost like a hallway, even though it's a road. And so however you configure it, this lowest one here, it's got a bridge over a river, it looks like, and then it goes down a winding road with trees, and then you've got some ruins. You could put it in that order and experience it, or you could shuffle it up and do a different order. So replayability is huge. You can take these pieces out and play them one at a time. You can even just use the maps. For $19.99, you're going to get a ton of maps to play along this long road. Here you go. You can see again how many there are. There's 20 of them. So that's like $1 a map if you just paid for the maps, but you're not getting that. You're getting this adventure along with it. So I think that's so cool. There's infinite ways you can put these in the order that you want the party to experience them. But it says, hey, you can use these maps with whatever you want, or we have this adventure here. And we're going to give you other things like these tables. I was looking at these earlier. They are awesome. There's a bunch of tables right here. And it just is things like, why are we going on this journey? So this first table, it's a D10 motivation table. The first one, escort duty. A person of interest needs to make this journey and they want help. And then number 10, exploration. An ancient road has been discovered. Where does it go? And there's things like patrol and delivery and all these other options, motivations for why you might be going down this road. And what's nice is you could say number one, escort duty is for the party, but then you have an NPC on the third map in this road. Maybe you roll on this again and you determine that they're there because they're doing a delivery or they're going on a tour or whatever the motivation is. So this is going to come in handy for both PCs and NPCs. It says, is an organization involved? So it's got an organization of notes. The first one, a university or similar scholarly organization with ample resources. Or maybe it's a cult, a group of arcane or religious practitioners whose ways are deemed unlawful by the state. That's just 2 of the 10 options. Who is asking? Person of interest. There's 20 here. You've got what reward is being offered. So it could be no reward or magic items. Complications, like is there another interested party? Is it vital that nobody know what the characters are up to? So it's got to be hush hush. Is it time sensitive? I mean, so many things. Maybe you lose rewards if you take too long, but you've got long road variations. You can make it short just with 2 areas, and you can roll it to determine this journey length. So it could be just 2 areas, and it tells you which 2, or you can do 8+ areas. And you can repeat them, or, just use the maps over and over and just keep stringing them together, And then here's a whole list of encounters. So I just love this. I think it just is, it's whatever you want it to be. It can be a full-blown adventure that you either roll on that table to determine how long it is, or you just decide to play until you reach a natural conclusion. You can go through all the maps or a few of them, play the encounters that are associated with them with the cards, it looks like, that go along with it. And you discover these unique monsters and other things. Or you can just take the pieces and use them in your own thing. A lot of you like to homebrew your own adventures, so why not just use these maps to, create the road that the characters are going to go down. Or maybe you take a map and an adventure and it goes somewhere in the middle of something you're already doing. Sometimes you need filler, right? Or maybe you have enough people absent one week, you kind of have to roll up some new characters and play something as a one-shot. This would be a great way to do a one-shot, because you can just keep extending that road as long as you want to go and then just stop. So I think you need to look for the long road in the video description links and give it a click. Next, we have Manual of Adventurous Resources, or more, and then it's complete, the complete manual. It's for Level Up or Advanced 5th Edition from Ian Publishing, which is a revision, a remake of 5th Edition, but it's backwards compatible. So even though this is for A5e, you can use it with regular 5th Edition. So it's from Purple Martin Games. It's $35, but you can get this hardcover standard color for $60, or both for that price. And it's already a best copper seller. It's 280 pages. And it says the popular Manual of Adventurous Resources series concludes with More Complete, which collects all previous mechanical content from the 5 prior volumes, plus another book, and adds a significant amount of new content. So it's all getting bundled together. 280 pages is nothing to sneeze at. That's going to be a lot of fun for you. The end result is a single, most comprehensive third-party character creation resource that you can buy, all created and assembled by veteran designers. You get 2 brand new classes, 9 heritages, 15 cultures, 10 backgrounds, 4 destinies, 48 archetypes for the existing classes, 9 synergy feat chains, including 5 utilizing the new classes, 2 strongholds, 5 followers, 3 combat traditions, and over 100 spells. I mean, this thing is jam-packed, and I think anybody who's, contemplating adding more things to their game should really consider this, because you're going to get so much in this book. And I've been collecting some of the A5e. I'm hoping to play it one of these days, and I'm going to add this to my wish list because I definitely want to have this as well. But you can see it's got a nice layout. Let's look inside. So heritages are kind of like races, heritages and cultures in A5e. So that's been one of the most controversial parts of 5e is the races. So when you see these revamps, upgrades, revisions, all that stuff, they usually change that. But it still works similarly, so you can play with a 5th edition character and an A5e character in the same session. You got backgrounds like amnesiac or an apothecary or a barkeep. You've got your destinies, which is unique to A5e. Your classes, the new classes are the Elementalist and the Wielder. Each of those get their subclasses or archetypes as they're described here. And then there's tons of archetypes for the existing classes, like the Elemental Priest for the Cleric, the Rot Sower for the Druid, the Enforcer for the Fighter, and other things like the Fugitive for the Rogue or the Glorified for the Warlock. And then those spells, so many spells and feats that you're getting in this particular book with some beautiful artwork here as we're scrolling through. You can see a ton of people worked on it, a ton of people tested it. And that's, what more could you ask for? You really want people that are passionate about it and working hard to bring these to you. So you got theme icons. It says this book uses icons to designate various themes to make it easier to pick out what might fit a better campaign. So Battle Mage theme, that content is designed to help players build characters that are good at both magic and using weapons. It includes magical warriors, fighting mages, and various content designed to bridge the gaps between the two. Notably, this includes the new Wielder class. And then you have Dark content, which is there for those who want to run evil campaigns, but also for those who want to play redeemed villains and who defy the sinister stereotypes. And then you got the elements or intrigue, light, wilderness. So many themes this can work with, but then they're getting right into the heritages here. And the first one we'll read a little bit about is the frog folk. And it says, frog folks are quite simply people resembling frogs and toads in all their variety. Some people call frog folk by the names of the frog folk cultures that they are first exposed to, such as boggart or gripply, partially because different groups of frog folk are so varied one can mistake them for being entirely separate creatures. But they're survivors, able to adapt to nearly any environment, and they're remarkably diverse. So you get their age, size, speed, all that good stuff. They're amphibious, of course. They have a leap where they can perform a long jump. It says you can cover a number of feet equal to 3 times your strength score, although it's still limited by your movement speed. When performing a high jump, you can leap into the air a number of feet equal to 10 plus your strength modifier. You're always considered to have a running start even when stationary. And then you can communicate with frogs and toads, which is really cool. And then there's some gifts. So in addition to the traits in your frog folk heritage, select one of the following gifts. So you can have poison resistance. It says your body is covered in toxic film called Curer Sweat, which is a contact poison functioning much like ordinary Curer poison. You can use it in one of the several ways, and once you do, you cannot use your Curer Sweat again. So you can, as a bonus action, you can coat one weapon or piece of ammunition with it, and then basically they're going to be subject to the punishments of that toxin if you come into contact with them. When a creature touches you against your will and the member touching you is not protected by clothing or armor, you can use your reaction to subject the creature to your Curer Sweat. And then when it's subject to that, they have to make a Constitution saving throw against your Curer Sweat DC, or else it becomes stunned until the end of its next turn. The save DC for your Curer Sweat is 8 plus your proficiency bonus plus your con modifier, or 13, whichever is higher. So a fun race, and it's evocative of a frog, right? Because some frogs, you touch them, it's dangerous, right? They say, don't lick those toads. No matter what the nice lady carrying the apple is telling you, you do not lick toads. Fun stuff in here. I mean, this is more stuff for Advanced 5th Edition and 5th Edition itself. I mean, 48 archetypes, 100 spells. I mean, this is really good. Like I said, I'm adding it to my wish list, and I think you should grab it too. It's called Manual of Adventurous Resources Complete. Look for it in the video description and give it a click. Next up, we have Mulhorand, a campaign guide for Forgotten Realms from John Silman, Ed Greenwood, and Sean Snell. It's $9.95 for 108 pages, and it says Mulhorand represents so much more than a country in Faerun's distant east. It is a realm of legend, a land where history is not just told in stories or recorded in books. It is etched across the desert landscape and carved into the very stone beneath your feet. Every grain of sand bears testament to the rise and fall of a dozen empires and the god kings that stir in the tombs beneath the desert. So, really interesting part of Forgotten Realms. It's one of the realms, I guess you might say. And, you know, we really need books like this, these third-party books that dive deep into a region, realm, whatever you want to call it, of Faerun, because the official books are sticking mostly to that Savage Coast. So it's leaving the rest of the areas open for development, which is nice. I've seen a number of books that really deep dive into one of those areas, and I love it. So this is another one. It's got some good ratings already. It's 5-star, 7 ratings, and it's 5-star, so that's good. But you're getting pages of lore, characters, environment, features, player options, and monsters to basically build a Mulhorand campaign. You get its history from the ancient Ymskar, I guess you say, empire to the post-spell plague present day. You get detailed descriptions of daily life, full page map of Mulhorand, 30 plus adventure hooks to help you kind of figure out an adventure to have there. Rules for adventuring in a desert environment. You get character backgrounds, some new class archetypes, 7 spells, 12 magic items, and 26 new monsters. So it's really a well-rounded book. You're going to have stuff for DMs, you're going to have stuff for players, and you know, you can pull out a spell, you can pull out an item, a monster, and use it somewhere else if you want. Maybe you have another desert setting. So there's dual value here. You have stuff that supports Forgotten Realm and certainly the desert and the Mulhorand area, but it's not limited to that. You've got these player options and stuff that would work just as well in another desert or even a non-desert area. So that's cool. You can see this big table of contents, so much information. You know, a lot of this may be inspired or recapping older editions, which is also good because getting a hold of those is expensive, and you know, some of it is going to be out of date or maybe has older stat blocks that then you have to convert, right? So having books like this to look at is really cool. So unfortunately, the full-size preview is broken at the moment. I'm sure by the time we announce to the creators that it is included in this video, they'll get it fixed. So it'll probably work for you, but we're going to use the quick preview for what we're looking at today. So let's flip through here. You can see really nice layout. They're talking about Ymskar right away and the Chartres, when worlds collide. So let's read a little bit of this. It says, Mulhorand, a realm of legend, a land where history is not just told in stories or recorded in books. We've read a little bit of that, so we'll skip ahead. The Ymskar Empire, whose founding is one of the earliest recorded segments of Faerun's history, stretched far across the land. Its capital, Anupris, standing in the center of what is today the Rurun Desert. Thousands of years before even the Netherese existed, around minus 8350 DR, the Ymskari dominated Faerun, their empire stretching from the shining south to the northern wastes of the Great Ice Sea, and from the Alamber Sea in the west to the Hordel, or the Hordelands, in the far east. The text is a little fuzzy because we're using the quick preview, so sorry for my stumbles there. It says the Ymskari emperors, godlike beings known as Lord Artificers, raised cities of vast edifice in proclamation of their glory. Mastering dimensional magic, they created entire cities in the confines of structures that were many times larger than without. They also created the Bolchara spires, arrayed towers of polished bronze conduits that housed networks of dimensional portals. These allowed for the Ymskari legions to instantly be transported across Faerun whenever they were needed, and none could stand before their might. So that's cool. You know, you've got these portals. Maybe you find one as one of the adventures. Maybe there's one that's still active. Maybe something else has found it and has passed through, and now you got to deal with whatever that thing is. But yeah, there's some fun artwork here to sort of inspire you. It says, once the silent death had run its course, the Ymskar Empire became locked in social and economic decline. Khotan needed a way to quickly recover, especially his legions of slaves who had either perished or escaped during the 𝘽𝙤, leaving the Empire without its ability to expand and develop. The Emperor turned once again to the 𝘏𝑒𝑟𝑎 Spires and built in secret a pair of new dimensional portals. These did not lead to elsewhere in Faerûn, but to other worlds entirely. Oh, that's really cool. So, I mean, think about Planescape, right? You could use this as a launching pad into Planescape. You could use it to maybe go to some place that's connected to a world that you might Spelljammer off of. Anytime you can bring in portals to other places beyond the world that you're on within the material plane, that's a bonus. You don't have to do that, but having that option and tying it into this lore means you have an explanation. You say, you know, this was created at the time back in the day by ख़otan because it was needed, you know, and so that's why it's here. And so you have a whole explanation for this portal, and then you can take it wherever it needs to go, and maybe even run into some of these characters. Maybe some of these characters escape there, or maybe a descendant of the characters is there, or maybe someone who served one of the characters is there, or was family, you know, whatever, right? So really, really cool. You know, we're only seeing a little bit here because we're looking at the quick preview and it just has a few pages, but you know, it's got great reviews. And we need these guides if we're going to play in the Forgotten Realms. You never know which direction your characters are going to want to go. So you want them to go to, you know, a particular part like the Savage Coast and stay in the Savage Coast. Well, they want to go across the continent or somewhere else. And so you need to be ready to cover that. I mean, as I said, only certain areas have been covered by 5th edition official material. So you really need to pick up these guides. And I mean, at $9.95, to be able to get a whole region spelled out for you over 100 pages, I think that's a good deal. So look for it. It's under Mulhorand in the links below. Give it a click. Next, we have Planescape Heroes by a bunch of creators, including Benjamin Aitken, Andrew Bashinsky, Jeremy Forbing, Joe Gaylord, Benedict Hall, Alex Lewis, Adam Hancock, Matt Kimberlin, and Shu King Tan. I'm not sure if I pronounced that right, but very cool group of people. I've seen a number of their works. I've worked with Matt many times. Love Adam's work. Seen a lot of Jeremy's stuff. It's good. I mean, it's a great group of creators. So I love that. I love when I see people on the DMs Guild band together and create a new book. It's really awesome. And this one is no exception. It's $14.95. You're going to get 72 pages to help bring Planescape to life. I love when a new book comes out from Wizards of the Coast and we see all these creators putting out materials to help supplement what Wizards has done. If you think about these past editions, right, like 3rd edition, 2nd edition, 1st edition, back then there was no way to really produce things that directly tied in. There was no DMs Guild. And so we really are living in a special time when people can make books that connect directly and deliberately mention and reference and connect to these things that Wizards of the Coast is up to. And that means the sky's the limit. They can go any direction they want to go. And so I love seeing this stuff. And we need to support it, because if we don't, eventually it'll go away, right? And I think this is the best way to do things, because Wizards of the Coast, they have to be judicious. They can't just make a 1,000-page book every time they touch a setting. It's just not practical. Nobody would be able to lift the thing. It'd be too big, right? They'd have to do 5 books, you know, each 200 pages or something. I mean, it's just not practical. And having worked on books, it takes years to get them done, especially big ones. So they just can't do it. So by having the DMs Guild and allowing people like these awesome creators to really embellish what is available is awesome. So you can say, I'm going to grab the official Wizard stuff, I'm going to grab a couple supplements from the DMs Guild, and therefore I'm going to have a much wider array of options. So if my players go north, south, west, east, whichever direction they go, up, down, left, right, I've got things that I can throw at them. And I'm not just limited to what Wizards of the Coast is giving me. So this is a perfect example. It says Planescape is boundless, like I'm talking about here. It's a campaign setting whose only limits are those of your own imagination. Not only that, but the rules in all other settings are broken. Old rivalries and enmities are tossed aside. The mundane freely mixes with the strange and surreal. Where else can you find rogue modrons on the run, angels sitting down to tea with devils, or humans hanging out with those who might be called monsters elsewhere? So I love this because it makes me think about Earth, right? We have all these factions on Earth and things that go on and division and things like that, right? But in the movies, when the aliens show up or the zombies show up, it's just humans versus whatever, right? And so Planescape kind of does something similar, right? You stop focusing on sort of your little area of the multiverse, and you start thinking about it as a larger thing where there can be any number of things, these modrons, these angels, etc., doing their things. So it's fun to see that in a book, because real life we don't get to do that. If you do, let me know. I want to know that you're up to these things, because I have yet to see a modron or an angel running around here, although it would be fun. So here it says they have 9 species, which basically races. They have a planeswalker class. So that's cool. You know, if you think about Magic the Gathering, there's planeswalkers there, which when you think about Planescape, right, it's in the name, planes. So having some character class that can walk across all those planes, it makes sense. You get 16 subclasses, and presumably there's subclasses for the new planeswalker class, either in that count or in addition to. You get 4 backgrounds plus 13 background variants, 22 feats, 28 spells, 30 magic items, faction renown options, 14 sidekicks, suitable stat blocks. I mean, this is a lot of good stuff, both for players and DMs. I mean, those sidekick stat blocks, the DM can dole out, magic items they can dole out, spells they can say yay or nay, feats, etc. And then players will benefit from picking from all these. And, you know, as a player, you could buy this for your DM if there's something in it you like, and say, hey, can I play this? As a DM, you could buy it and pick and choose and copy paste and say, you can use these items from this book. You don't have to use it all, but maybe what you use this campaign is perfect, and then next campaign you use different pieces. That's why books like this, of this size, with this many options, are always awesome, because you can go back to them again. It's like a well where you go get a bucket of water, and then you go back the next day and you get another bucket of water, or later that day, whatever, right? You're going back, getting more. It's not like it's one and done. You know, a one shot is fun, right? But unless it has a lot of parts that you can disassemble and use elsewhere, you're probably only going to get to use it as a one shot. Books like this, which I would call a supplement, have all these moving parts that can be removed and used in isolation or used collectively. And when you use a bunch of themed player options together, it really helps the players get a sense of, this is what Planescape is compared to my Ravenloft experience, or my Forgotten Realms experience, or my homebrew experience. This feels different because I have this backstory based on the character that I chose from these options. So looking here, you got species like Barriar, Bladeling, Dabas, Fenseer, Forlaren, Modron, Shardmind, etc. Then you get your Planeswalker class, and you know, as I said, you're getting 3 subclasses, and one of them is called the Reality Weaver. That sounds really cool. Then you get all these subclass options. So yeah, I think that total I gave you is including those. Even for the Artificer, so you got a Planner Collector, you got Path of the Outlands for the Barbarian, a Defier domain for Cleric, and the Lady of Pain for Warlock. That sounds really cool. Oath of Cages for Paladin. That sounds really fun. They all sound fun. I'm not going to read them all. I want you to check it out too. But Backgrounds of Being in Flux, that could be interesting. A Sigil resident, you know, Sigil, I should say. Sigil's right at the center of the Planescape experience, and they've spent a lot of time with it in the official thing. So a Sigil resident background ties right into the official material. Then you got all these feats like Airwalker, Negative Void, Scion of the Hidden Planes. Then you get into spells like Abyssal Plague and Lockdown and United Front, magic items, Abyssal Blood Iron, Carceral Lead, Elysian Linen, and you've got some charms. That's really cool. Faction Renown options and sidekicks. I mean, you got Icarella, Hymir, Horvis, Trinity, Tiny. That could be a fun one. Thistle Sieve. It looks like there's a watermark in the middle. I'm not sure. I think it says Thistle Sieve or Thistle. I don't know. It's a cool name. I love the word thistle, so anything with that's going to be interesting. Anyway, here we are with these species. Oh, I love this. They've got like a little summary here. It says Barrier, a sheep-like person with curved or spiral horns. Bladeling, a being with metal skin covered in sharp spines. Davis, a floating person who speaks with illusory script. Now that would be interesting. They all sound good, but floating illusory script, that would be really cool. Shardmind, a psychic person made of crystalline shards. Liland, a winged being with a serpentine tail. I mean, think about that floating illusory script. So as a player, you got to really figure out how you're going to communicate that. You know, I guess you could almost narrate third person and say, you know, you see these letters forming in the air in blue writing, and it says da 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 in common, you know, whatever. That could be interesting, an interesting way to play. And, you know, hopefully you are someone who wants to try something different every time you approach a campaign. And how much more different could that be than playing as a Davis? So you've got all these things, talks about ability score increases and all that good stuff. And then you get it right into the traits. And you get to see 25 pages. I'm going to zoom out so I can do a quick scroll. And you can see they've done some beautiful artwork here. Different class options they give you that summary at the beginning, which I really appreciate. You know, not every book does that or has the room to do it. Like, here's this table with the subclass options. We'll look at that in a second. But some really fun artwork throughout here. Easy to read, well laid out. So zooming in here, you can see this table of subclass options. It tells you when they're available, which is, you know, you don't always remember when they're available, so it's nice to read about that. And then even the Planeswalker ones are mixed in here. So it says Artificer, Planner Collector, collects planner trinkets across the multiverse. That could be fun. Fighting over getting some little trinket. You know, maybe it has actual power and meaning to that Artificer, so they want to look through the loot and get some oddball thing. You could use all your trinket tables you've ever had if you have a player like that. Warlock Lady of Pain wields pain itself while serving the enigmatic ruler of Sigil. Tempest Warden prowls the places where planes meet, preventing incursions from either side. So that's for the ranger. That makes sense. That works. So let's look at some of the Planeswalker ones. It says Barrier Warden creates impassable walls and barriers. You got the Reality Weaver, who harnesses the power of potential, and then the Weave Walker, who wanders the planes of reality seeking fonts of magical power. So they're each a little different, which is nice because, you know, you could play the Planeswalker 3 times and have a totally different experience. So I love it. Really cool. And here's a Chaos Prism that you're going to get, and it's going to do some interesting effects. It says when you gain this collectible, choose its plane of origin and a moral alignment, evil, good, or neutral. The alignment need not match yours. The Chaos Prism can be attached to a spellcasting focus as a bonus action. Whenever you finish a short rest in the company of friendly creatures, you can designate a number of those creatures up to your proficiency bonus until you or the designated creature, whichever comes first, finishes a short rest. The designated creatures can use your Chaos Prism instead of you. When a creature that has the Chaos Prism attached to their spellcasting focus casts a spell using a spell slot, they can choose to cast it through the prism. The chaotic nature of the prism modifies the spell based on the specific prism's alignment. Once the spell is cast, roll a d6 for the effect. Regardless of who uses the prism, it can be used a number of times equal to your proficiency bonus and regains all expended uses. So yeah, you're gonna tweak some spells here, and you can see it has evil 1 through 6, then good 1 through 6, and neutral. So let's just read one of each. This is for for 1 to 2 on evil. The first time that the spell deals damage to one or more creatures, choose one damage type the spell deals. The spell ignores resistance to that damage type, so you can make your damage, do more, basically. Good, the first effect is the first time that the cast healing spell heals, one of the targets also gains the benefit of the lesser restoration spell. If a spell slot at 5th level or higher is used to cast the spell, the creature instead gains the benefit of greater restoration. So you're getting some, like a bonus spell cast, basically. And then finally on neutral, 1 to 2, if the spell is a beneficial spell targeting yourself or a friendly creature, the spell's duration is doubled for one target of your choice. So yeah, that's cool. You get to double that duration, which could make the difference. It could win the battle. And we're just reading the lowest roll, right? There's more effects here that I want you to check out. But that's just one. That's just one artificer ability. So you can see how it ties into the planes, because there's chaos-oriented planes when you think about alignment and how they connect to the planes. But, I think this is really fun. There's so many great books out there. You got the Planescape Archive. You've got the Manual of the Planes. You've got this book now. And I think if I was going to DM a Planescape campaign with the Wizards of the Coast box, I would get all 3 of those books that I just mentioned. And, of course, the Wizard books. And I would just go through it all, really organize it and say, here's your options from each of these books. And I think it would be the best time. And then you can just tell your players, we're going to go wherever you want to go. So you can base them in Sigil. You can plant seeds that maybe lead them to Limbo or lead them to, whatever plane you want to visit. But let them decide. And then, maybe you end each session with them at one of, entering the portal. And then you can go do your homework between sessions to prep and kind of finalize it out. Now, that would probably be a better approach for a more experienced DM. I wouldn't necessarily recommend that for a brand new DM. But, think about the fun you could have, really just letting them roll the dice, decide where they want to go, follow whatever threads that speak to them. Sometimes you get railroaded, right? And what better setting than Planescape to get away from all of that and let the players just go wild and go wherever they want. And who knows what you will discover and create on the fly when that happens. And then maybe you can publish whatever that is. So a lot of things to consider. But one that I hope you seriously consider is picking up this book. It's called Planescape Heroes. It's in the video description, links below. Give it a click. Next, we have Rultmoork from AAW Games. It's on sale for $29.99. Normally 32 pages. It's normally 32 pages. Normally $32. What am I talking about? And it's 144 pages for 5th edition. And it says, explore wasteland ruins and uncover mysterious clues to the past in this adventure for 4 to 6 characters, starting at levels 5 to 7 and concluding at levels 8 to 11. It says, as above, so below. Deep in the Bavonian mountains stands a monolithic spire of stone peppered with ancient ruins and mostly forgotten. The spire contains a temple complex rich in history and steeped in the mysteries of the past, untouched for a millennium, but it is not without its dangers, for ancient evil stagnates within. This is Rultmoork, where, according to legend, the very land died to the sound of a single falling tear. I love that. The very land died. And it's all about duality. It's challenging, deadly, and intended for those levels of 5 to 7. So you don't want to put a first level character in here. And it marks Jonathan G. Nelson's return to adventure writing after his critically acclaimed series Rise of the Drow. You've got playstyles of ruin exploration, investigation, and dungeon delving. There's wasteland archaeology, where you can explore ancient ruins, visions of the past, live through the horrors of millennia past in a role-playing rich investigation, test your mettle against an interactive and dynamic dungeon. They've got flow and stagnation, 2 different modes for monsters and magic items. You've got hardcore mode, make a difficult adventure truly unforgiving and deadly. You can have brutal, unique monsters. I mean, this book is packed. I grabbed a copy when I was preparing the video because I was like, this has so much cool stuff. I wish I could buy all the books, but I have to have a budget just like everybody, right? And this one spoke to me, and I wanted to just read some of the stuff I'm reading about here. So I've started. Busy making the video, of course. I haven't gotten to read too much, but everything I've seen looks really, really fun. I think they did a good job. So there's going to be other iterations where you can get Foundry, Roll20, all that stuff. But look at how cool it looks with all the little pieces. There's accessories you can get. It says, there's a box set which has dice and all that stuff. There's even a little video down here on the Foundry version. This is specifically for the PDF, this link. So, but I'm sure through the contacts here, you can get more from AAW Games because they've been around for a while, and I think they have a really cool website that I believe I've visited. Anyway, here is a little bit of the book. And I mean, look at the map. I mean, that's so cool. Ruins of the Old Kingdom, Shining City of Salamanca, and Fallowfield. So you get the ruins, the water clock level, dungeon room 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then you get the magic where you've got some of those items, and then there's a bestiary with some creatures like the Grekian Guardian and the Flow Weaver. And then you've got Visions of the Past, which is how to set that up, and running Visions of the Past. So that's where you're reliving some of these horrors. So you have to be careful, work with your players, make sure everybody's comfortable. But that sounds like it could be really fun to kind of like relive things that have happened already. Love this art, this super thin bridge here crossing to this spire above a valley, it looks like. Really cool. And it gives you a quick reference. So green text is rules, blue text is rules around stagnation, and the blue text is around flow. So it could either be flow or stagnation going on, which really adds to the feel of this area. You've got history of Rultmoork and Vest's temple, magical items at a glance. Another cool image here. I mean, this just is so fun. I love the idea of it, the flow and the stagnation. It says the adventurers travel to the rocky spire of Rultmoork, either towards the base of the rock formation or the ruins of Fort Rultmoork. Upon its top, the players can choose in which order to tackle the adventure. Again, love that player choice opportunity to mix it up. It says near the base of the rock formation is the entrance to the dungeon of Rultmoork, but in order to enter it, the adventurers need to understand Grekian. Alternatively, the adventurers could potentially create a cipher for Grekian if they compare the runes on the arch with the sacred prayer of Vasi in common. Therefore, it is theoretically possible to deduce the correct riddle solution and gain entrance to Rultmoork's dungeon. Love that. They've got even riddles that you can solve. So here, let's just read a couple adventure hooks. We don't want to spoil too much because you might be a player in this experience. This is a mysterious gleam. If your party prefers a player-driven sandbox approach to adventures, they can see a bronze gleam reflected at first light of dawn from a nook in the base of the spire of Rultmoork, roughly 25 feet from the ground. This gleam is a reflection of the sun from remnants of a mosaic in the nook. Beyond the mosaic lies the entrance that leads to Dungeon Room 1. Another one, hired adventurers. This works best for groups who prefer a direct approach. The Church of Vasi hires the party to explore, pacify, and reclaim Rultmoork. In trade for clearing Rultmoork, the clergy offers 2 uncommon and 2 rare magic items to the party and 1,000 GP per adventurer. And then Vision Quest, if your party prefers a plot-driven approach and the other angles would not suffice to engage them, consider running the Visions of the Past section of this adventure as a hook instead. The adventurers dream of the fall of Rultmoork. While this takes the mystery about how the temple fell prematurely, it does make things more personal. So we just read 3 of the 4 hooks here. Actually, there's a little bit more. There's archaeology and other stuff here. Each one was so different, and I love how the author is saying, hey, if your party's more into plot, if your party is like a direct approach, a lot of DMs, they know their players, they've been playing with the same group for a while. they're going to know which one is going to be better suited. So that's awesome. I love when you get those different options. But this book, I can tell you from flipping through it, it looks really fun. There's so much to do, and I love the vision stuff. And there's some really cool magic items and stuff in here. So I hope you check it out and experience Rultmoork for yourself. It's in the video description links under Rultmoork. Give it a click. Next we have Shotglass Adventures, St. Avon's Madness from Laid Back DM. You can get it for $15 on sale, normally $25 for that PDF. You can get the hardcover standard color for $25 on sale, or both for $30 on sale. Author Stephen Thompson, 140 pages, and it says only you can fight the madness, save the city, and discover the truth. What started with a simple mission to clear the local monastery cellar of kobolds leads your party into a dangerous game of cat and mouse involving terrorists, werewolves, and government agents. As you follow the trail of the St. Avon's Madness, gas attacks from the forests and hills of Rusk to the wastes of Antraxis and the back streets and sewers of city of Kravik, only one thing is important: finding out just who is behind it all. So you're trying to find out who the big bad is. This started as a bunch of previously released adventures, and so they got combined into one volume, as well as the Kravik city setting. They're fully play tested, and what I always love about these releases is that you get both 5e and OSR stats. So again, I got to call that out, because when you have to think about a budget and what books you're going to buy, one of the ways to decide, in my eyes, is looking at how many different ways can I use this book. And when it comes to an adventure, you want multiple systems if you can get it, because you never know when you're going to have a group that only wants to play one system or the other, or maybe you're going to switch back and forth, or you've always wanted to try the other system. So having this available, you can use it with, maybe you play 5e all the time, and then when you're ready to try OSR, you can play it. And what better way than to play it once with 5th edition, and then as your introduction to OSR, you play the same adventure. So you're already familiar with it, and so then the only thing that you're sort of dealing with as an adjustment is that different edition of the game, right? So it's a great way to shift gears. And then you don't have to learn the story again, right? You already know the story. You're just focusing on how the rules work. The mechanics work differently. But you're also getting some magic items. You're getting maps. You can see some beautiful artwork here of everything. It looks so cool as a printed book. And then there's a separate purchase if you want to get all the VTT maps. But 9 one-shot adventures for 1st to 6th level. I mean, you can't go wrong with that. You get magic items and monster stats for 5th edition and OSR. A complete city setting. Very, very cool. So we're going to look inside. It's in spread format in the preview, so you can see 2 pages at once, which works really well. I mean, most people have a widescreen monitor these days, so spread format can be really cool. If you have a 2-page PDF, if your PDF viewer allows, you can view 2 pages at once, so you can kind of create your own spread format. And I encourage publishers, third-party creators, to think about that and how it's going to play out. So, for example, if your PDF version is not displaying 2 pages in the appropriate spread, you might need to add a blank page to the PDF to push everything into alignment. So that's a good tip for you if you're watching third-party creators. Do that so that if somebody wants to have a spread format, they can see it properly. There's nothing worse than spending hours and hours and hours on your book for it to only be presented incorrectly or out of sync, and the map goes off one to the right edge of the page, and then you got to flip the page, and it continues on the left side of the next. I mean, that's annoying. So think about it. All right, so we're looking through here. You can see there's a different key, and these are some of the fun maps. I mean, here's that city of Kravik. We're going to zoom in and read some of this in a minute, but I'm just going to do a quick scroll so you can see. I mean, look at this region map. So well done. So evocative of old school, like Forgotten Realms maps, even with the fonts. And then you get right into some of these details here in the sample. You got the 5e monster stats here, magic items, and then you get into the OSR. They're all grouped together, quick flip to it, print it out, whatever you need to do. And you've got your references for each of your adventures. Here's a cool stream map. Love it. They always do such interesting stuff in the laid back DM books. So let's zoom in and see if we can read about Kravik. It says Kravik was the first inland Koreshi city built after the conquest of the area 5.5 centuries ago. The Koreshi Emperor Talon felt it was time to move his seafaring nation further on shore, and Kravik became a monument to the new-fledged land empire's tenacity and audaciousness. Its location in the Forest of Rask made it ideal as a primary export center for local lumber. Wistfern and Esfern made up Kravik's primary wards, the latter being built 30 years after the first as the city expanded. It retains its nickname of New Kravik, even though it has been established almost as long as Old Kravik. That's a cool detail, because you can have a character get all mixed up about that, explaining it, confuse your players. And go, so it's old or new? And well, they're both old. What are you saying? Right? So yeah, you're getting information about how it's ruled, the military, the trade, all that stuff. And they have this thing called Statue of Talon. The 20-foot Statue of Talon is broken. The top half was sheared off by the Invician army centuries ago and has never been replaced, a reminder to the populace just who's in charge. Despite this, the stone base is covered with pro-Koreshi graffiti on a regular basis. Every few months it gets cleaned off, but it doesn't take long to appear again. The locals frequenting shops and houses at the intersection know nothing, of course. Unknown to the authorities, the graffiti contains coded communications from the local Koreshi factions detailing protests and secret meetings. That's awesome. You got this thing is sheared off in half. There's a reason for that, that you can learn over time. Maybe it's looming, and then eventually somebody asks, why is it like that? And you understand. And then just the graffiti is not just a protest, but there's communications happening using the graffiti. It's coded. So many layers to just the first point of interest. We just read one. So imagine what lies in wait in here as you read through all these other locations in the city. But I love that. I love that there's factions clashing, because that can be a great backdrop. You can, if you start making friends in one faction, you might have challenge with the other one. And this city setting is going to tie all these previously released adventures together. So, these things have been through it. I'm sure there's been corrections made in this edition based on those previous publications. So you're getting a really polished, solid product with so much in it. 140 pages of fun, and I hope you check it out. It's under Shotglass Adventures, and the link's below. Give it a click. All right, next we have Thrones and Bones adventure book called Banner of the Bull from Lou Anders, and it is for Black Flag. So what is Black Flag? Black Flag is a derivation of 5th edition by Kobold Press that is more open to everyone. The whole SRD OGL debacle that happened earlier this year really inspired a lot of companies to say, hey, we're going to make a derivation of 5e that we have control over. So if this madness happens again, which hopefully it never will, we can carry on with our own edition of this game and just not even worry about it. And so, Kobold Press is one of the first to do that, and Black Flag is the name of it, and it's backwards compatible with 5th edition, so you can play Black Flag in conjunction with 5th edition or just one or the other. And what was so cool about what Kobold did is not only did they release information on Black Flag, which I think they're calling Tales of the Valiant now, they got a bunch of really well-known creators. Like here, we're seeing Lou Anders and Lazy Wolf Studios to make adventures that work with it. So it's not like, here's a system, you deal with it. No, they're saying here's a system and here's a plethora of adventures that you can now experience the system with, rather than having to come up with your own. And that's just too much. Let's help people introduce themselves to it. You can homebrew later. Let's start off playing it first with something already written, right? And so Thrones and Bones has been around for a while. It's a really fun, interesting setting based on novels and all that stuff. And there's even you can get a whole bundle down here if you scroll down for the other Black Flag adventures, etc. So I encourage you to also consider that. Hopefully you do it through our link so we can get that affiliate fee, small affiliate fee. But definitely cool. There's all these adventures. You see there's 4 of them here from different really talented, well-known third-party creators. So it says, a land in need of heroes, the Jarl of Bence has a problem. He is responsible for the upkeep of Trelleborg, a ring fortress near the border of Nuremberg, but now communication with the fortress has gone dark. The Jarl needs someone to journey to the Trelleborg and learn what has happened. Unbeknownst to the people of Nuremberg, a magical artifact known as the Banner of the Bull has long protected the land from the denizens of the Fey realm of Elswither. Now, the banner has been stolen. With the ward protecting Nuremberg breached, mischievous Fey creatures and one sinister emissary of the Court of Thistles has encroached on the easternmost border of the land. If the Banner of the Bull isn't recovered, Nuremberg may soon be overrun by a new threat. These Fey, right? And it's so funny because earlier in the video I was talking about how I love the word thistles, and here it is. You have a whole court of thistles. I love it. And Nuremberg is cool. It's got like some Norse inspirations. I've purchased a few of the Thrones and Bones books. They're really fun. And, if you've watched Vikings, you might get a little bit of that in the feeling. Or if you've read the novels that go along with this, you might get to experience that. So I love it. I love all those connections. It says it's got additional lore about the city of Bence, allowing for setting replayability beyond the scope of the story, 5 new lineages and 5 new heritages specific to Nuremberg and its neighbors. So that's how heritages and lineages is how Black Flag or Tales of the Valiant handles races. Then you've got new magic items and a bestiary of 16 new monsters and NPCs. So you're getting quite a bit of stuff. There's a separate map pack and VTT tokens that you can use. But you also, if you're really into this, you're going to want to check out Thrones and Bones Nuremberg 5e campaign. There's a bunch of stuff. I think there's at least 3 or 4 books that they put out, and we've covered some of them. But I've grabbed them, and they're all so beautifully illustrated and just fun to look through. And this thing cracks me up. So I was preparing the video, and I opened this, and I mean, what is this? It's kind of inspired by my house with the cats that I have, because it feels like I have this many. And they're all just in this sphere here. And I love whoever illustrated this must have had the best time, because you can see each one, some of them feel like they're getting squished. Some of them are yawning and stretching, and others are like on the attack. Some of them are just kind of peeking around. So each little face is I mean, I could look at this for 30 minutes and just find new things. Well, I did that, but I just, right off the bat, I mean, you scroll past the cover and then you're hit right with this orb of cats. I don't know if that's what it's called, but that's what I thought of as soon as I saw it. And it's so fun. They got some good artists working on this as usual with the Lazy Wolf Studios stuff. They're not lazy. I don't know why they're calling themselves lazy, because they make good stuff. But here's the Nuremberg map, and really cool little Dragon's Bay you can see, and Verberg and Dragon's Wood and all these places that you might have to visit in the surrounding area. So that's cool. And then you can see more of it. And here's Bence on the edge of this lake. That's the place that's mentioned in the description. So that's definitely one of the places you're going to go. But there's so many other places that you could expand your adventures. You could go to Trollheim or the Devgurian Mountains or Underheim. So yeah, it's going to go through the Banner of the Bull, Adventure, all part 3, and the 3 parts to it, and then you've got the conclusion, and then you get those lineages and monsters and NPCs and stuff, as well as links to the other Nurengard stuff. So cool. And a whole pronunciation guide, I need that because I butcher everything. And so even Bence, I've been saying wrong. It's Bensa on the southern coast of Nurengard, on the shores of Serpent's Gulf. From there, the characters travel eastward to the very edge of Neronian territory. But here's Bensa. You can see all the little areas. They've got the fur market, the trickster's market, Smith's Row, the old keep. I love it. Just even the names are fun. So we'll talk about part 1 in a second, but I mean, just look at these beautiful illustrations, these rooms that you can visit. I mean, remember, you're going to get to have an adventure along with player options, magic items, and bestiary, all helping you understand Black Flag, Tales of the Valiant, but also works backwards compatible with 5th edition, so you can commingle stuff. You can have a character who's using an archetype from 5th edition and one that's from Tales of the Valiant, whatever you want to do. But I encourage you to try it out, because this may be the future of D&D. If things go sideways with Wizards of the Coast, and even if not, it's another way to experience it, right? Mix it up sometimes. So it says Nurengard is a cold land of hard peoples long reconciled to clawing survival out of the brief summers and long unforgiving winters. They are accustomed to bravely facing their share of threat, trolls that wander down from the mountains and out of the vast forest, temperamental spirits of wood and rock and steam, great serpentine dragons known as Linorms, and the Dwargar, those greedy, resentful dead that dwell in barrow mounds and seethe with hatred for the living. I think I said it wrong. I think it's Draugar. I'm not sure. Anyway, it's blessedly free of mischievous, malignant, and magical fae that so often plague their neighbors in the country of Ireland to the southeast. The fae dwell in the realm known as Elswither. I love that name. And from there, when the passages between the realms crack open, they issue forth to harass and torment the Airlish. The druids of Ireland have their hands full repelling these supernatural incursions and confining them to only emerge at certain times of the year. However, a group of dark fae known as the Court of Thistles has more sinister and permanent designs for both Ireland and its neighbors. The Court of Thistles has begun testing the barriers and pushing at the boundaries of the world. So, I love it. I mean, who doesn't enjoy fae stuff? It's really cool that they're keeping them out. Maybe you can come around a holiday time once a year, whatever, but that's it. Otherwise, you get out of here. We don't want this fae business. But this relic gets stolen because people don't understand its connection and how it keeps them from coming here from Elswither. And so this party has got to get this back because they're going to just be overrun. And I think that's such a great setup. It you can bring in fae from elsewhere probably if you need to, although I'm sure this book has plenty, and people love collecting their fae stuff. So this might be a way to use some of that stuff. Maybe, you need to add some stuff, or you just want to expand what's here. You could do that really easily because you can have both the Norse-inspired Thrones and Bones stuff and then other fae things. You could shape that Court of Thistles however you want. That's the beauty of this game, right? And here you're getting two, because you're getting 5th edition and Black Flag here in this book, with that backwards compatibility, and you get to try it out. You get to experience the awesome Thrones and Bones stuff from Lou Anders and Lazy Wolf, and so much good art, so much well laid out pages to enjoy. I mean, you just can't go wrong. So you need to look for it in our video description links under Thrones and Bones, Banner of the Bull. Give it a click. Now we come to that part of our episode where we do some shout outs for additional releases during the window of this video, November 1st to the 15th, 2023, that we think you should know about. We just don't have time to take a deep dive in them today, but we hope you click those links and check them out. First up, we have Advanced Artificers, which is for A5e. or advanced 5th edition produced by Ian Publishing, and it's got an artificer class as well as subclasses, and A5e is backwards compatible with 5th edition, so it will work with that as well. This is $9.99 for 31 pages. Then we've got Oren's Archive of Fractured Realities, which is filled with races, classes, and subclasses for $35, and it's 556 pages. So that's quite a few pages for you, but lots of stuff on offer, and we just scratched the surface with our description. Then we've got Be Happy, which is $3.49 on sale, 22 pages. It's an adventure for level 5. It's got VTT maps, and it sounds really fun. Then we've got Bountiful Bounties, which has a bunch of notice board quests for your adventurers. It's $7.99 for the PDF or $14.99 for that soft cover standard color, or you can get both for just a little bit more at $17.49. It's 76 pages, and it's pretty much system neutral, but it works with Dungeons and Dragons, of course. And then we've got Dwarven Fiasco, which is an adventure for Tier 2. And you can get it for $13.99 for the PDF or that soft cover at $23.98, or both for $26.65. You can even get a bundle with Roll20, and it's 46 pages for that book, 5th edition. Then we've got Gary's Appendix, A Thoughtful Zine, issue number 3, $8 for 44 pages. It's for OSR, and it's filled with monsters. Then we've got Craven's Uncommon Magic Items 2, which has 20 new magic items for 5th edition. It's only $1.99 for 20 items, and it's 16 pages. Then we've got Occult Prestige Feats, $2.90, 14 pages for 5th edition, and this is some prestige-like class or demi-class features that are in the form of feats. So bringing that sort of prestige concept from older editions right into 5th edition using the feat structure. Then we've got the Professor's Book of Beasts for $9.95 for 72 pages, and this is filled with monsters for 5th edition. Then we got Recharge for the Planescape Adventures in the Multiverse box set that just came out. It's only $2.95 for 14 pages that are going to give you recharge abilities for every single stat block in that box set, so that you have what you need to mix it up and surprise your players. Then we've got Return to Gristwood, which is $9.99 for 50 pages, and this is filled with encounters, spells, and feats, all with that really cool artwork that we've come to know from Critical Crafting, so it's a fun purchase. Then we've got Rust and Ruin for $19.99, 251 pages on this. It's got optional rules and subclasses. Basically, tons of stuff in here. World building tools, dungeon building, dungeon boss creation. And it's kind of like a mixture of old school hex crawling and that darker tone with sort of the modern 5th edition style of play. So if you're looking for that blend to bring OSR and 5th edition together, then Rust and Ruin's a good option. We've also got Severed Fate, which is $10 for 72 pages, and Severed Fate is for OSR. It's an adventure for levels 5 to 7. Then we've got Secrets of Old, which is a Adventures of Stormwreck Isle Adventure League adventure. And it's a 4-hour tier 2 for 3 to 7 players. It's $4.99 for 25 pages. I love this cover, and it's fun to play some Adventure League stuff once in a while, so check that out. And then we also have an Iron Kingdoms title this week. It's Something Wicked. It's $1.99, so super cheap for this one. 18 pages, and it's an adventure for level 11 in the wonderful Iron Kingdoms setting. Well, that's it for this episode. We really appreciate you hanging out with us and checking out all these titles. Please share the video out there with friends so we can get eyeballs on all these awesome third-party creators. Share it on your social media and like the video. Leave a comment. I'll respond to all those personally. And subscribe. We'd love to have you on the journey with us as a Splinter friend, and follow us everywhere at Splinterverse. We're on everything, including the newbies like Blue Sky and Mastodon and all those places that people are now creating social media accounts. So you can follow us wherever you are at Splinterverse. Be sure to do that because we have a 2-book Kickstarter coming early in 2024. It's a campaign setting unlike any you've ever seen and an adventure. So I can't wait to reveal the details of that for you. But in the meantime, I hope you click these video description links, support these creators with your purchase. It really helps them, and it also helps the channel because we're going to get a small affiliate fee. And if you can bookmark one of our links to take you to drive through or DM's Guild every time you need to make a purchase, you're going to help us every time you shop there. So we love when people do that. Or you can go to our website, splinterverse.com, and check out 7 books that we've put out previously through Splinterverse Media, or in the video description links are also linked there, like our Mithril best-selling Feywild Companion, our Platinum best-selling Dragonlance Companion, and all the other fun ones as well. We hope you check those out and let us know what you think. We always love our reader feedback. Well, that's it. Thanks so much for watching and being a part of our journey today. I appreciate you, and until next time, happy adventuring.